Hey, what's up everybody? Michael back here again, and today I've got some pretty exciting news that just hit the PlayStation scene. So this comes to us by a person over on Twitter that is called BestPig, and they have added a repo here that says BestPig Backport, and then it says what is that, and that this lets you sideload system libraries into PS5 games. Now, this is going to be super interesting stuff, as we're already seeing a couple of different games like Black Myth Wukong, Astrobot, and then Silent Hill 2 working on a 7.61 system. Now, before I jump into some footage of that has been released, let's go ahead and jump into this GitHub project. Okay, so the project is over here on GitHub underneath BestPig and then Backport. And we can see from the README here that it states PS5 Backport, a background payload for PlayStation 5 that automatically allows system library sideloading. So it states in the overview here that Backport monitors game launches on the PlayStation 5, and that when a game is launched, it automatically mounts a fake lib folder from the game's app directory over the game's library path using Union FS. This allows for library replacement injection without modifying the original files. Now, how cool is all of that? Now, he does state here that the original concept and some of the code was by IdleSauce, which has done so much for the scene already. And then underneath the how it works, it states that when a game is launched, it retrieves the app info to get the title ID, and then it locates the game sandbox directory, and then it checks if a fake lib folder exists in the game's app0 directory, and if the fake libs exist, then mounts them over the game's common/lib directory using Union FS. And then when the game exits, it just unmounts the fake libs and cleans up the sandbox directory. Now, there is some requirements in here and some build-in instructions, but since a majority of you are just going to be using this, it says place your replacement libraries in a fake lib folder inside the game's installation directory, run the backport.elf payload on your PS5, launch your game, the fake libs will be automatically mounted, and then when your game closes, cleanup is performed automatically. Now, it does state that the libraries you want to sideload must come from a firmware version compatible with the game you want to run. However, you cannot use them directly. They must be modified to remove dependencies that are not available on your current firmware, otherwise the loader will crash. Now, it states in the best practices that it is recommended to sideload as few libraries as possible, as there is no guarantee that there won't be side effects. And then he states in here, patching libraries, that I provide patches in the patches folder in a BPS format to patch libraries from firmware 10.01 and make them functional on 7.61. This is probably achievable for lower firmwares as well, but has not been tested and would require additional patches. And then here is some information about the patch. Now, let's go ahead and let's scroll up and let's go over to the initial release, and we can see right there is the PS5-backport.elf if you do want to go ahead and get started with this. Now, I did see this message over here from Speed007 that said, last year I said there was going to be a big surprise, but I couldn't talk about it. The surprise is the Backport PS5 games. And then he stated thanks to BestPig, and that he hadn't tested it, but he believed that it worked on a 7.xx, and that is 7.61, and that is correct. Now, later on, he provided a video where he tested 3 games, which I mentioned a bit earlier, to backport them to 7.61. And if we take a look at the video here, we can see there they are on 7.61, and there is the dump installer, and there is Silent Hill 2, and basically here, it looks like we're in, and there you can see that it is working. So he's going to go ahead and close it and go ahead and attempt yet another game here. So Black Myth Wukong on a 7.61 machine. That is pretty darn cool that you're able to do this now. Okay, and there it goes, and he'll go ahead and close out of that one, And the last one is Astrobot, which it seems like everybody has been wanting this one. And this is again running on a 7.61 machine. And there it goes. And at this point, there is the main menu. So yeah, really awesome to see this working on a 7.61 PS5. Now again, looking back in the README, they did state that this is probably achievable for lower firmwares than this 7.61, but again, it has not been tested and would require some additional patches. So anyways, it will be really nice to be able to see at least this game right here, Astrobot, not being stuck on some firmware like 9.00, but working on 7.61. So at this point, you are probably wondering whether or not you're going to have to download these gigantic games again. I know Astrobot was a very beefy download. So no, you won't have to do that, at least with some of the games that has already come out and has already shipped, such as Astrobot. Here you can see this is a Astro backport for the 1.007 version. And if we take a look at what's inside of that RAR file, you'll see first off you get the backport files that you copy to the folder game. So if we go inside of that, right here is that fake lib folder that I was telling you about just a second ago. Now if we look back over at the GitHub, you can see that we would put these inside of the game's installation directory, such as the title ID and then fake lib. So in order for Astrobot to work, it looks like it just needed these files right here. Now if we go back up, so wherever the game is installed to, you would copy all of these files into it. Now the other file that you would need is the payload, and this is the PS5 Backport.elf file. Now this is the same identical one from this right here, so I would probably always get this directly from the releases itself. But at least the good news we can see as of this moment is that it looks like we're not going to have to re-download all of these games again. So anyways, I'm pretty excited about all of this news. I mean, getting backports on a PlayStation 5, I mean, that is what we have all been dreaming about. And 7.61 is maybe going to be that new firmware, which is the 9.00 for the PlayStation 4. We absolutely don't know, but I can say that I'm pretty excited with how I'm seeing the PlayStation scene moving over just the last little bit. Anyways, thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Michael, out!